Welcome back, guys. Today we're taking a look at the PrimoChill Praxis WetBench. Now you probably noticed that I've been using quite a few of these test benches in a lot of my videos. I just don't use them in hardware reviews. I also use them for taking really nice B-roll, testing games, and I actually have a sort of a setup where I just have two of these set up constantly. I've got an Intel version and I have an AMD version, which is this one here. And it's really good to compare hardware. I also have a third one which I just sort of have for testing random hardware, sort of scrapping down all the time, putting new hardware on, because my Intel and my AMD ones, I like to keep up and sort of like to do sort of comparison sort of tests and so on. So PrimoChill, the good guys at PrimoChill have sent me this one here. This is the gloss white with the red accents. So we're gonna jump in, do a bit of a review and see what the Praxis WetBench is all about. The WetBench comes fully dismantled and assembling the unit is required. The box is relatively small and packaged well. Assembly time takes roughly 15 to 20 minutes if you take your time. The included manual is well instructed and has everything labelled nicely. The unit I was sent from PrimoChill is the white with red accents, and there are many different colour options available. Just to note that it seems that all the white based ones are gloss and the black based WetBenches are more a matte rough coating. I think my personal preference is the black matte effect. Once fully assembled, it's really up to you on how you use it. I use mine for many different purposes, mainly for testing out hardware, but I also use it for game testing, water cooling setups, and also taking B-roll of different types of hardware. The WetBench makes a perfect base station for this, as if you use a case, you really only have the side-on view of your hardware. Spec-wise for the Praxis are quite broad and more than enough for most people. Being a test bench, you're really not going to use a heap of storage options and so on. Motherboard supports up to eATX with a nice feature of a double row of cable route holes. This is done as the first row is covered when using an eATX board. Storage wise, we see support for 4 3.5-inch hard drives or 4 SSDs. Hard drives can be mounted on the base tray right underneath or on side brackets. As much as I like having your drives hidden, swapping drives in and out is a bit of a mission. For swapping a hard drive, you're meant to take the whole top motherboard tray off so you have access to the inside. This does mean you need to fully disconnect everything from your motherboard so it can lift up. Personally, I would have loved to see some kind of hard drive cage caddy system where drives are slotted in somewhere, maybe on each side where the handles are. The Praxis also supports 2 optical drives or a dual bay reservoir down the bottom. Water cooling support is great with the max radiator support of up to 360mm with basically unlimited thickness. All-in-one cooling on the Praxis is a stretch, as all-in-one cooler tubes really aren't long enough. Custom water cooling is really the go on the Praxis. Res and pump supports are located on each side of the WetBench. There's a plethora of holes, but so far I've had no success using these holes for the water cooling gear I have. I can only assume that these holes are suited for PrimoChill gear, which does make sense. I think maybe making a more universal mesh design to cater for more res brackets and pumps would suit most people. Now that's pretty much the main specs covered. I haven't covered price yet. Now these are produced in the US. These come in at $185 US, and in Australia, PLE is the only place I can find that does sell them. They come at $269 Australian, and I did recently pick up this black and red one for $199 on sale, so that was a pretty good deal. Now when it comes to the price, I do think it is reasonably priced, considering these sort of are aimed at such a niche market. Like if you're a gamer, if you just like a nice gaming system at home or things like that, you're really not going to purchase these. These are really aimed at sort of reviewers or even I would say modders who are swapping out hardware all the time and things like that. So they can't really sort of mass produce these for every person who is into computers. So they're perfectly suited for someone like me who's always swapping out hardware, even doing things like B-roll, which I mentioned. They make a perfect little base station for things like that. A few little things I didn't like is I find the top plate a little bit weak. It flexes a bit when you're putting in your RAM in your DIMM slots, putting it in your video card, you do get a bit of flex sort of pushing down. Would have been really sweet if they put like a support bar running underneath somehow, but I simply just put my hand underneath to stop any sagging when installing hardware. Another option is up here on your PCI thumb screws up the top to put in your video cards. They've got a right angle bracket that sort of hangs up. It does get in the way when you're screwing in your sort of thumb screws to lock in your video cards and so on. I think they've done that for support, for strength. They probably could have also wrapped it around the underside instead of going up top, but that's not really a huge deal there. That's pretty much it. You're probably wondering the little front things I added on here. These are just a bit of an acrylic cover I made up to cover the cables underneath because they can get a bit messy. sometimes. I actually first saw these from Aaron from Tech Playground. He is from Australia. He runs a YouTube channel. He first did this on his. He added magnets. I just simply added double-sided adhesive Velcro. So that's simply acrylic with vinyl on it, and then I use my vinyl cutter to just create some logos. So I got one there, and then I've got the one there. But yeah, that's pretty much it on this video. Just want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank PrimoChill for sending this out to review, and see you in the next video.